Hi y'all, my name's Glenn Johnson here at Big Sugar Ranch. Um, we're sitting in front of the rock. We're sitting here in front of the waterfall here at Spillway. Hopefully the future site of our rock crusher and sawmill that we will get to crush some of this good old-fashioned limestone up and saw up some of these eastern cedars and white oaks that we have growing on this ground. A little background on the place. I am the 5th generation to be on this ground. My family originally settled the Big Sugar Valley in 1856. We have primarily raised beef cattle in the last half of that, along with row cropping. We've kind of gotten away from row cropping for the most part and went more toward horses before the horse market kind of collapsed, but we still raise American quarter horses, foundation bred, back to the Hancocks and Pepe San Guino. We live on the ground with a little of the footprint as possible. A lot of the beauty that you will see in videos to come are the same sceneries that my family's seen in the turn of the century, from 1856 to 1900. From areas along the Big Sugar where we traded with the Indians before the U.S. military moved them out of this area onto the reservations, and even where the wagon trains from the Santa Fe and everything pass through here, and the wagon ruts that we can still feel in our hay meadows as we go through it every year. To the buffalo wallers that are as rock hard as this rock I'm sitting on during the dry years, from where they wallered into the dirt so hard to get to that softwood and just made it impossible to till up. To the well on the other side of the property behind me, where Warren Wilders camped at when she came down from Minnesota. The family history through here has been something that we've always taken pride in, and the ground we sit around we've taken pride in. Not because of the ability for it to outproduce everything around us, but because our family has bled through it. We have survived Indian raids and feast and famines and dust bowls to carve a niche into this place. Not because we have fought it all the way, but because we have tried to be part of it. We try not to put our stamp as much onto the ground, but to allow the ground to accept us. I know you might think that sounds like a kind of a hippie idea, but the idea of allowing nature kind of to tell you where to put stuff times helps out. Just like this nice pleasant waterfall that we're sitting on, now I'm sitting in front of right now, might look all pleasant, but if you go back a year, this wasn't here. This was a solid dirt berm that we had built when we built our massive pond that feeds a lot of our projects. Last year when the floods came through, nature decided what we built, it wasn't strong enough for the amount of water that came through this little creek that's running here, as it ate through 6 foot of dirt and rock to create a new spillway that we're sitting on, when the old spillway used to sit on the other side of this berm in a rock crevice. which would have been a more of a straight line shot for it to come off the pond. But ironically, one boulder gets moved, and all of a sudden, water decides it don't want to go where it's been running for 10 years. It wants to run somewhere new, and we got now a beautiful waterfall. The concept that said we're going to put a sawmill and a rock crusher in. The idea of running a ram pump to pump water uphill with no motor, with nothing but gravity from the pond and pure water head off that pond to shove water back up 300 to 400 foot of line into our water system that will feed our house. The idea of living as much off-grid as possible. We don't have electric running into this ground due to the pure cost to cut through for the electric company to run across the creek and or down the miles of gravel road to get to us. Kind of like the idea of running a water line through the solid rock that we are on. It's just not cost effective for us. So the idea of doing a lot of the projects that we are probably going to do in the future is because of that. The cost effectiveness to do stuff, it's cheaper to do it ourselves than versus doing it something else. And we are trying to make as little of a footprint as possible on the ground without losing the modern luxuries of life, and enjoying life as much as possible on this beautiful ground that we have around us. I hope you all enjoy it and enjoy the journey with us as we go through, as we try to carve a niche, my wife and I, out of this this farm, and as we go on the path of sustainable farming and homesteading concept is kind of how I look at it. We're trying to be self-sustained and self-prevalent amongst ourselves, where we don't have the monthly grocery bill as much, or the monthly bills that modern society tells us that we have to survive. And hopefully, eventually, if God wills it and the creek don't dry up, we are able to I can actually quit my job and 100% just focus on being on this farm instead of having to work somewhere else to make the monthly bills that we do have. Said I'll try to get better in the videos in the future to explain stuff better, and I'm not the greatest at it, but I'll see what I can do. Talk to y'all later.